Okay, so this is my first time recording in a very long time because college and all of that. And I thought, why not ease into the swing of things by, recording some videos, making stuff on the alt and whatever. Not the alt, this is the Twitch alt, but this is just like my extra channel, mintnhiTALKS, where I've been uploading shorts and whatnot every once in a while. And that's been going well, surprisingly. But the reason why I'm recording this today is because, there's coal. It's because I want to talk about my, what would you call it? Like a revival of my obsession with Avatar, specifically Avatar The Last Airbender, because I recently rewatched it and I forgot how good of a masterpiece it is. If you guys have watched it, I would rewatch it again. It's so good. It's my comfort show. I'm actually in the middle of rewatching it right now. I'm on like season 1 or something because I've been busy. I don't think I can watch it anytime soon anyways because I have exams and whatnot next week. And by the time I upload this or whatever, it'll probably be like a few weeks past. But yeah. But I am rewatching it again because it is my comfort show, even though I finished watching it in a 3-day sprint. A few, like last week, I think. Last week I came home and, let me check last week I came home, like I normally do. I normally come home during breaks and whatever. And, I was like, let me just watch Avatar again, because why not? Because I rewatched Hamilton, and then I was like, screw it, let's just rewatch Avatar. And so I did, and then I ended up spending the whole weekend rewatching it. So, yeah. And I felt like I wanted to talk about it, because no one else in my friend group has watched it, surprisingly. And yeah, I have no one else to talk to about it, which is kind of depressing. But I do YouTube for a reason. Yeah. Ooh, there's coal. Let me get that coal. I'm actually running out, I think. I haven't actually played on this world in a while, so I do not know how many resources I have. So I'm just gonna collect things and then see stuff. I know I have a bunch of diamonds, but you can only do so much with diamonds, you know? Oh, my trees are growing. But yeah, but for context, if anyone's mainly subscribed to the extras channel and not the, where are the seeds? And not the main channel. I don't upload that much on the main channel anyways, because those videos take a while. And I've kind of like lost steam for that sort of thing. But this is my rendition of a new survival world I'm making, because I'm scrapping the original one and I'm just on a new one. So we're just a little like chill, like almost unedited talk. I'm just gonna be just talking about stuff while I gather resources for starter base. Yeah, I haven't actually like planned out the video yet, so we'll see how that structure goes. But I'm just gonna be gathering materials for those. Or should I grab materials, or should I? Let's clear out the area first, actually. Because I need to clear out the area anyways to get blocks to terraform and, all the builder things and whatever. So, yeah. I'm going to do this while I talk about Avatar because I can. I actually wrote like a journal entry about it like a while back while I was in my dorm room because I was bored. And God, I wrote so much. Like, I looked back at it recently. I was like, damn, why did I write so much? But I mean, it's just that good, Like, what? Oh, it's supposed to. Yeah. But I don't know. God, I don't even know what else to say because it's just so. It's a masterpiece. It's like one of the best pieces of media I've watched in my life. And that's saying a lot, being someone who took a film class last semester. But, it's just Avatar is peak. It's just peak storytelling, and I love it. Like the character development between all the characters and like the plot and the story and the relationships between everyone. It's just great. Because in actuality, like if you think about it, it's just the story of like kids saving the world, but like there's depth. It's depth. There's so much in it. And it's crazy for being like a quote unquote kids show. Like, because it was made by Nickelodeon. But like, touches on so many topics and it handles them well compared to other shows that have been recently made. I can't think of any examples right now, but I could imagine there'd be quite a lot. But yeah. And I don't know. Like, I don't even know what to say about it because it's just like, what the heck? It's crazy. Also, I've lost that memory from the stuff I like actually wanted to talk about. So I'm kind of like throwing stuff out of thin air. But, I can talk about the soundtrack, however, because I have been listening to the soundtrack recently. Because I got that post show watching Depression, and so I was like, let me listen to the soundtrack while I like walk to class or like do homework and stuff. So like for the past week when I walk to class, I've just been listening to the soundtrack, and bro, the soundtrack is so good. Typically I don't care for the soundtracks or anything. I wouldn't say that. It's like a second thought in my mind. It's not like something that I heavily focus on, if that makes sense. Like, it's like an afterthought because I normally think about like the plot or like the scenery or like the animation or whatever. But the soundtrack for Avatar, oh my god, it's so good. Like, every time I listen to, what is it, like Last Agni Kai, it's like, yeah, you could envision Azula and Zuko duking it out in the Fire Nation and with their orange and blue fire just like pewing everywhere, like firebending and whatever. And then you listen to Reconciliation and it's like you can envision the scene where Zuko hugs Iroh and it's just like, God, tearjerker right there. And then you have Peace, which is like the second to last song where Aang like splits the sea like Moses and he like puts out the fires that Ozai fucking did and whatever. And then you can envision like Zuko and Aang hugging in the Fire Nation, Zuko getting crowned Fire Lord, Aang and Zuko like declaring peace and that the war is over. And then you have Avatar's love, and then you have like Aang and Katara kissing for the finale, and it's, oh my god, it's so good. I just listed those off because those are my favorite tracks, but also one that I've like, cause it's like, as I listen to them, it's like I key in on the like certain scenes and whatever. So like those ones I just mentioned, those are just my favorite ones. So like I vividly remember those scenes. But like as you listen to it more, it's like, oh yeah, you have the Ocean Spirit soundtrack where it's like Aang being the big fish and like at the Northern Water Tribe and stuff. And then you got the swamp where it's like the twangy banjo or what, banjo? Yeah, banjo or whatever. And then you got like Roku's thing, and then you got the song, or you got the score where it's like Aang and Katara go penguin sledding in the beginning. And then you got like Leaves from the Vine. How could I forget Leaves from the Vine? That episode, oh my god, still makes me so sad and stuff. And like Appa's Lost Days too. Oh my god, those are Oh, it makes me so sad when I think about it. Cause like when those episodes happen, it's like you love those characters so much. Even as Appa is just like a flying bison or whatever. He's like, oh, it is nighttime. Oh, whatever. I'm gonna keep digging anyways, cause I can do that. But it's like because those episodes happen in like season 2, I believe. So it's like you've come to know those characters to a point where you have like an opinion on them. And yeah, Appa may just be a flying bison, but he's like from just a standard standpoint. But if you like fully watch the show and like pay attention to like the relationships between like Aang and Appa and like Momo and like Sokka and Momo and like, I thought I heard a slime for some reason, but we are not in a swamp. But it's like you love those characters so much, and it's like when those episodes happen, it makes you feel sad and like empathetic and sympathetic towards the characters, and it's not like there's like a totally good character or like a totally like villain. Well, maybe except for like Zhao and Ozai, because Ozai just wants to take over the world and burn the hell out of everything. Zhao is just kind of like that bully where he's like, I'm gonna get what I want. I'm gonna be Admiral Zhao and catch the Avatar for my own personal gain. And granted, Zuko does that too because of like his honor and whatever. But like, yeah, you can understand where Zuko's coming from because he got fucking burned by his dad as a 14-year-old. He's been at sea for 2 years literally trying to do everything to get his father's approval like he's done for his whole life. And it's like, how can you not feel bad, like what? Like, you can call Zuko, like, season 1 Zuko is kind of a jerk because, he's kind of still that stubborn, like, disrespectful kid, But as the show goes on, you got Iroh's wisdom, you got Aang and, like, Aang's and the rest of Team Avatar's, like, acts of kindness towards Zuko, and it's like Zuko sees that gratitude being shown towards him despite him being their literal enemy. And despite him being from the Fire Nation and stuff. And like, one of like a memorable episode for me. Like, it's one of my favorites. It's like Zuko alone. That episode where Zuko is just like, he leaves Iroh and he finds this family in the Earth Kingdom or whatever. And like, he saves a kid from these dumbass like soldiers or whatever. They're just taking advantage of everyone, and then like they just show their kindness towards Zuko despite him being a stranger and whatever. And you get to see the bond he grows with Lee, the kid, because he lost his brother and whatever. But then you get to the end where Zuko like pulls out his firebending to protect everyone, and yeah, you understand that. Oh, get wrecked. You get that understanding from Zuko because he's like, yeah, he's just trying to help people. But then also you think of all of those people that were affected, and it's like, damn, you instilled this much. The Fire Nation is instilled this much fear into these people to the point where it's like, if someone even tries to help and they're from the Fire Nation and they can bend, like, it's been ingrained into many generations. That's like, not many, like 2. It's been so ingrained that fire is used for fear and destruction and pain rather than just like life and energy and like balance amongst all the other elements. And Zuko sees that and he's like, damn, this shit sucks. Because he's trying to help, And yeah, the family knows that, but like, it's for their safety. And you can totally see both sides. You don't fault them for anything because you really can't. It's a time of war. But those like moments like those where Zuko realizes like, fuck, my dad did this, and like my grandfather, my great grandfather did this. You start to see his realization that maybe this isn't worth it. Maybe trying to catch the avatar and gaining my honor isn't worth it anymore. And I talk about Zuko this much because Zuko is like peak character redemption. And you know, everyone says that. Everyone, like, most people love Zuko. Like, I would say like a good 98% of people love Zuko. And they, like, a lot of people love some characters. A lot of people love, like, you know, some characters, some don't. It's like, discourse like that comes with every show. But, like, every character is so nuanced and, like, well-developed to the point that there's, like, you can dislike them, but there's, like, you can find a reason for disliking them, you know, rather than just saying, like, oh, I dislike this character because I just don't like them, you know? I don't even know if I'm making sense here, but hopefully my point is somewhat gotten across. I don't really know, man. And this isn't like a video essay or anything. I'm not, like, yeah, I take film classes, but I'm not that analytical enough to the point where I can write video essays on, like, shows and stuff. Because I'm, like, on the contrary, like, I'm really bad at that stuff. So I like just talking about, like, what I like about the show and stuff, and, like, the characters I like, and certain aspects of the show that I really appreciate, like the soundtrack and, like, the animation and the landscapes and whatever. And, you know, where the development came from and stuff. Because that's the part that I'd really like. It's not so much about the analysis. It's, like, the behind the scenes and how things get developed. That's the stuff that's the nitty gritty that I really love. When it comes to, like, films and shows and stuff. So, like, theory and all that. That's why you saw nothing. But that's why it's, like, editing is something that I've, like, always enjoyed, you know? Because it's, like, you're, like, putting together the puzzle. Sure, it's tedious sometimes, but it's, like, you're making your own story. And when I watch shows like Avatar, it's, like, you can really feel the love and passion that went into developing the characters and, like, treating them as, like, your own children, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah. And then it's like, oh my god, another one of my favorite episodes, other than Zuko alone. Well, you gotta say Sozin's Comet. Sozin's Comet is just a peak finale. The whole 4-parter is just peak. Like, the ending is just perfect. And it's like, you get to the end and it's like, you feel satisfied, you know? You know, the world's ending. Katara and Aang get their happy ending. Sokka and Suki, and then Mai and Zuko. Ty Lee gets her ending with the Kyoshi Warriors. Azula, not so much. Now that I think about it. Ozai, we don't care about Ozai. But, you know, it's like, yeah. Azula, she's put into a mental hospital. Ozai lost his bending, and, you know, but, like, I don't really care about Ozai. Like, he's just like, oh, I'm gonna take over the world. Azula, you can kind of feel bad for Azula because she's 14. Like, she's a direct foil from Katara, with them being prodigies at bending and stuff like that. But it's like, but you can kind of feel bad for Azula, because she's not just a one-dimensional character. I guess not Iroh. Ozai is a one-dimensional character because he just has a common goal of, like, destroying the Earth Kingdom and taking over the world and whatever. And, like, you know, making the Fire Nation the supreme nation of the world. And, you know, but Azula, she's like, oh, she's learned her behavior from her dad. And although, like, Ursa was their mom, for anyone who hasn't watched the show. But it's like, you feel bad for Azula when she's just, like, there crying at the end. And Zuko and Katara are staring at her after their Agni Kai. And it's just, yeah. But everyone else gets their happy ending. Iroh gets his tea shop. Pog good for Iroh. And, there's that. So Sozin's comment is just, like, up there with one of my favorite episodes. Like, if I did a tier list, all 4 parts in order would be, well, actually, no, not in any particular order, but just all 4 parts of the finale, up in S tier. Zuko alone, also up in S tier. And then you have one of my favorite episodes, actually. It's like the one that I tend to like rewatch the most is Blind Bandit, which is the one where Toph gets introduced. Because, oh my god, I love Toph. Toph is, oh my god. Her character is so badass and cool, but also has that sense of vulnerability despite, being a earthbender and like holding her stance and stuff like that. But even then, like, characters like hers and like, Iroh. Well, Iroh's just Iroh, despite his past with, bossing Say and stuff. But like, there's that depth that you can get from all of the characters, And I love Blind Bandit so much because it shows like a good representation of like an individual having a disability, but not letting that disability like define them, because some shows they have like, I don't know, someone who is disabled in some way or form, and it's like, oh, they're totally dependent on everyone else because they're disabled, and it's like, no, that's not true. You can have people that are disabled in some way or shape or another and them still be strong and independent individuals. Like, you're not gonna infantilize I can't say the word, but I'll put it on the screen. Like, you get what I mean? You can't just baby someone for not being like how society sees like the social norm. Like, yeah, you may be disabled, you may be neurodivergent, or like, other things that isn't deemed quote unquote normal. But that doesn't like erase anything from their personality and their character. And that's the thing I like about like Toph and like that kid from the Northern Air Temple in like season 1 when they go visit the Northern Air Temple. It's like, sure, their disabilities are a part of them, with Toph being blind and the kid being, I'm pretty sure, paralyzed from the legs down because he's in that, not like a wheelchair, but he's in that like picture on screen. Yeah, those things are a part of them, but it's not like, they're not gonna make excuses and say like, oh, I can't do anything, because they're gonna like, it's not, they use that to their advantage almost. Like Toph with her seismic sense when earthbending, which is a really cool way of portraying it. The animators did such a good job of like portraying that. It's like one of the coolest parts of her earthbending, I would say. Besides the metal bending, aside from the metal bending, but Toph is just that cool, And then like that kid using like his glider as a part, putting together his glider as a part of his like wheelie, like, I'm gonna call it a wheelchair because that's essentially what it is, but you get what I mean. So that's just something I really like. And also, like, I don't know, something about the Blind Bandit, that episode in particular, just like, it's just so good. Like, I don't know what about it specifically other than the fact that Toph gets introduced and like her kicking all of those other people's asses, but like something about that episode just like clicks. And I don't know why. But like typically when I like rewatch Avatar, that's like after an immediate rewatch, like after a rewatch, I like immediately rewatch some episodes I like. That's always the first episode I go for, because it's like, It's just one of my favorites. And then another episode that I rewatched, the other episode that I rewatched after that was what was it? The Southern Raiders, where Katara and Zuko go on their little field trip to kill the person that Katara remembers killing her mom. She didn't actually kill her. She didn't actually kill Yanra, but it was pretty scary. Like, if I were in Yanra's position and I just get ambushed by Zuko with his fire bending and Katara making ice daggers at me, I'd be shitting myself. That'd be terrifying. And also with her blood bending, oh my god. Like, even Zuko, he like you can see it in his eyes. Like, he's like, oh shit. Katara is like not messing around. And it also shows the depth in Katara's character too, because like, you know, you see it, like, she's showcased to be like this motherly figure, the mother of the group, you know, but like when it comes to things that she's really important about, or when she finds really important, or like something that she really cares about and like wants to find quote unquote justice, you know, I'm going with Aang's philosophy here. But it's like, then you know that like Katara will do anything. Like, she'll do anything to like honor her mom's legacy and like, you know, get back at the Fire Nation for what they did to her and Sokka's family. You know? And that's another thing. People complain that Katara talks about like her mom dying so much. And it's like, I don't understand why that's a thing to, like, why that's a thing you would hate about her. Because, like, she's 14. And her mom died when she was, like, what? I can only assume, like, 5 or 6? She literally, like, you can assume that she literally saw the corpse of her mother burned inside their house when she got back there with her dad. Like, tell me you wouldn't also be traumatized to your core if you saw that. Like, Sokka didn't see it, but, like, I could imagine how he would feel. 'Cause no one should see that, let alone a child. That's crazy. And you're gonna flame Katara for, like, talking about her mom and, like, you know, letting her emotions out. That's not something that, like, I totally get. But, you know, that's just me. It's because it's also, like, a key part of her character, too. Her mom dying led her to, like, you know, taking care of the village in part with, like, her nana, or, like, and, like, her nana, her, like, grandmother, and, like, the rest of the maternal figures of the village, while Sokka's like taking care of the village while his dad's gone off to the Earth Kingdom with his fleet. And it's like, those two kids have been through it, you know? So there's that. And then you get to Aang, whose entire people got genocided and just like wiped out of existence. Like, you gotta feel bad for the kid, you know? Like, he still has his innocence and his whimsy and whatever. But, like, after he, like, gets to the, what is it, the southern, one of the air temples. I think it's the southern air temple. And he sees Gyatso's skeleton in that one shot with Gyatso's skeleton and, like, the Fire Nation soldier armor around him. It's chilling. And Aang being 12 and seeing that after, like, thinking, like, oh, I'm gonna clean my room after 100 years and Appa's gonna play with the other Sky Bison and what, like, that is God. Like, you can't even imagine that, because it's like, in what world would that happen to you? Like, you know, not being in contact with your family for, like, 100 years and then, like, you know, just seeing everyone you knew and loved just gone. Just eradicated. Like, what? And even then, Aang was still like some episodes you could see Aang like going about his day, like, you know, airbending, doing his avatar things, like riding the koi fish and like playing the flute for those little, what are, like, prairie dogs or whatever. I don't know, but like in the back of his mind, Aang just has that immense like survivor's guilt, and it's something you have to remember with Aang's character, because it's like he's the avatar, yeah, but that doesn't like protect him from like everything, you know. Like, sure, you can go into the avatar state and, you know, bend all four elements. But, like, that's not going to protect him from, like, the survivor guilt he felt. Like, even then, him being the avatar was sometimes used against him. Like, that cranky old man who was like, you ran away, you turned your back on the world. And then, like, you know, and then his feelings of running away and being gone gets even 10 times worse, and you feel even more bad for him, and it's like, God, these poor kids, and they're the ones destined to save the world? That's crazy. And then you got Sokka. Oh my God, the person who caused Katara to break Aang out of the iceberg by being sexist and whatever, to being a badass leader. Like, that's all I have to say. Sokka is just an immensely good leader. And it shows, too, with, like, him and the Boiling Rock, and, like, him in the finale with, like, Toph and Zuki and the Fire Nation fleet. And then, like, I was gonna say an example in the desert, but that was all Katara. Sokka was high out of his mind on cactus juice. I don't, like, that was not one of his shining moments there. And him, like, you know, going off to learn the way of the Kyoshi warriors, meeting Suki, and then, like, them eventually dating and whatever. Like, I don't have much to say about Sokka, because it's, like, he's a good character, but he's not, like, my favorite character. I think my favorite character would probably be, like, I guess Toph and Iroh. Yeah, I guess those two. Maybe Aang. Because I feel that whimsy from Aang, and, like, that ability to still stay, like, positive and, like, have that optimism in a war that's been going on for 100 years, and, you know. But then again, Sokka is a character that I, like, you know, you really appreciate. Like, sure, you see him as comedic relief, but, like, in the end, like, he's developed so much as a person. Like, he's become like his dad, which is a good thing, because that's what he's aspired for. And, you know, like, protecting his sister, protecting the people that he loves. Like, that's what his dad told him to do, and that's what he did. And he's proud of him for it, too. And, you know, there's that. That's just, like, the main cast, I guess. But then you also have, like, characters like Azula and, like, Mai and Ty Lee. And, like, Azula, oh my God. I talked about Azula, but God, you just feel bad. Especially with her visions about her mom. Like, I rewatched the show, I read some of the comics. I think I read, like, the first two that were published. I think it was, like, one of them was, like, The Promise, and then one of them was The Search. I think those were the two that I read. And if you read The Search, you could see, like, how much Ursa's, like, love for Azula didn't get passed on down to Azula, because of her, like, because of Azula's, like, you know, tendency to, like, go towards her father's ideals, because, like, her father taught her to be like that. And, you know, because, like, yeah. And then at the end, Ursa saying that, like, I'm sorry I didn't love you enough, and then Azula just, like, tearing up and crying, and it's like, you just gotta feel bad, despite her wanting to, like, follow in her father's footsteps. She's just a kid. All of them are. And they're the ones destined to save the world after 100 years. Like, that's crazy. And I guess that adds to the, like, whole, like, meaning of the situation, too, because there's always that continuous, like, sense of urgency amongst the characters, and it's, like, always that sense of, like, uncertainty, too, where it's, like, can they actually do it? And I like that there are those moments where it's, like, both sides have their defeats, like, with like the chase. I think that was that episode where Azula like gets herself trapped into a corner between everyone, including Iroh and Zuko. But then Iroh gets shot, and it's like you see that moment of where like the gang is trying to help Zuko, but Zuko not accepting it because it's like they're supposed to be the enemy. Why are they not like trying to kill me or something? You know? You see the gang being like, Zuko and Iroh, they're not actually trying to chase us for once because common enemy, you know? Azula's there trying to kill everybody, you know? And then you got like, you know, the Siege of the North. Like, they win, but like Zhao kills the fucking, what was it, Twee? Was that a Twee or Law? I don't remember which one he killed, but it was like the moon spirit. And then Yue sacrifices herself. Rip Yue. What a goat. What a G. Yeah, and they won that, but then like Crossroads of Destiny, that one like, that one hit hard. Cause it's like they were so close, you know, but then Zuko goes on and betrays Azula because he's like, oh my god, I finally get what I want. After all these years, like 3 years later, he can finally go home. Like, be in the comfort of the Fire Nation palace, be with his girlfriend, be with, you know, and stuff. But then it's like, at what cost? Then, like, he betrays Iroh, too, in that sense. Because Iroh was like, don't fucking do it. But Zuko was like, Azula was like manipulating him. And Zuko's like, the fuck do I do? But unfortunately, he chose the wrong choice. Went with Azula's side. And Azula fucking shot Aang with lightning. Even after Aang was like, fuck, I don't want to give up my love for Qatar for cosmic energy. Fuck that. Like, that's another thing. Like, that part was just really amusing to me because it just shows, like, how much Aang cares for Qatar specifically. And it's, like, very sweet. And, you know, and then you see their relation develop as they go on. And it's, like, it's very cute. I like the canon, so I'm a favor of Katang. You can fight me on that, but I tend to go with the canon for most things, so that's why I'm content with Katang being a couple throughout the entire Avatar franchise. That's my 2 cents on that. But then you also have those moments of like Black Sun where Sokka experiences the challenges of being a leader, or it's like, do you continue on with the invasion with the chance of victory, or like do you retreat for the chance of saving as many lives as you can, you know? And you see that challenge Sokka faces rather than just him seeing the ideal leaders being like, yeah, I'm gonna tell everyone what to do. No, not like that, but yeah, that specific moment and like a couple of others, it's like like he realizes like, oh, it's not just about like upholding your masculinity or whatever, like being a man and like being a warrior. It's like, it's more than that. It's not just like those one-dimensional factors. It's like you gotta be tactical, be smart. You gotta like have empathy, compassion, and stuff like that for yourself, for the team, for your soldiers or other warriors, you know, that's what being a leader encompasses. And it's moments like that where like Sokka experiences those moments and they end up failing the retreat because Azula and Mai and Ty Lee disguise themselves as Kyoshi warriors. But obviously they wouldn't know that because story, you know. And then Aang, like, you know, feels that immense guilt because, like, he saw himself as, like, failing once before at bossing Say. And then he's trying to do it again, but that obviously didn't happen. So it's, like, there's that coming with the fact that, like, things sometimes don't go your way. And it's, like, what do you do at that point? But then at the end, obviously, like, they save the world. Ozai gets his bending taken away. And it's like, yippee! No, but oh my god. You guys saw nothing. Nothing. You guys saw nothing. But no, I'm not gonna say that as like making fun of like the whole like, yeah, every happy ending, yay! Because obviously, like, realistically, how would the show have ended if it wasn't a happy ending, you know? Like, I feel like that's the only way it could have ended. Especially with the whole season leading up to Aang's fight with Ozai and stuff. And it's like, God. That it was beautifully animated, though. You guys also saw nothing there. But, oh my God, that scene, oh my God, it's just so cool. And, like, the score that went along, oh my God, it's crazy. And then you have Last Agni Kai between Zuko and Azula. Oh my God, coupled with the score for that, the visuals with the blue and orange fire in the vastness of the Fire Nation, especially with Sozin's Comet just like powering up their fire bending to like they were on steroids. And then you see their developments and decline when it comes to Azula. You see Azula's descent into madness, and then you see Zuko's character development and his bending development as a teacher and a student, in a sense, under Iroh. But, you know, and then Azula shoots, threatens to shoot Katara with lightning, and Zuko sacrifices himself, and it's a sweet moment between Katara and Zuko. And then you got the foils, Katara and Azula fighting against each other. You know, them being the same age, being the opposite types of bending, with Katara being a waterbender, them two being prodigies, and, you know, them essentially losing their mothers in one way or another. Katara, like, witnessing her mother, like, burn, and then Azula not feeling that her mother loved her enough because she saw the favoritism. I wouldn't call it favoritism, but that's how Azula saw it. So, you know, saw the way her mother, like, saw her compared to Zuko, and, you know. So, like I said, you get to that last scene where Azula's just, like, wailing while bending through her nose and, like, her mouth out of frustration and sadness, and the close-up of her crying, followed by the shot of Zuko and Katara just looking at her. It's a very somber moment. Like, you would think it would be, like, a moment of, like, yippee! And, like, happiness for Zuko and Katara, but, like, it's like, Zuko still cares about Azula. Like, it's not like, Zuko, like, sure, probably hates her, but he still cares. Because he's the older sibling. He's her brother. It's still that sibling bond that's not gonna go away. Maybe Azula hasn't felt that way, but you can see it in Zuko. Zuko cares for her, obviously. That's why she got put into rehab rather than just, like, going to prison. And then, you know, in that one scene in the Western Earth, was it the Western? It was the one that was upside down. It's the upside down Earth. I'm pretty sure it was the Western Earth Temple. Earth Temple, Air Temple. Might be. Like that one where, like, they get shot off of or, like, they blast each other off of the blimp, and then Zuko has his, gets saved and, like, you know, has his support system of the gang, and then you got Azula all alone because she lost May entirely at Boiling Rock after they betrayed her. Because there they realized, like, Azula's gone fucking crazy. What the hell, man? You know, and it's like, and then Zuko is like, she's not gonna make it, bro. And then you can see that, like, he still cares for her. Like, he was concerned that she wasn't gonna make it, but then obviously Azula, she has her fucking jetpack style bending out of her feet, and obviously saves herself because she's a prodigy and knows how to do that stuff. But even then, you can see, like, that little glimpse of, like, worry that he has for Azula despite her trying to kill them. And, you know, sibling relationships are just a thing that, like, it's like a theme, I guess, that heavily, like, goes throughout, that's shown throughout the series. Especially with the dynamic contrast between, like, Azula, Zuko versus Katara and Sokka, because around basically the same ages, with the guys being the older siblings, and then you got Sokka the non-bender, Katara the waterbender. Sokka feeling like he wasn't able to do a lot in, like, their battles or whatever because of the bending that, like, Aang, Katara, and, like, Toph could do. And, you know, there's that sense of, like, imposter syndrome. Not imposter syndrome. Well, I guess that could be a factor. But that sense of, like, I don't deserve to be in the position I am because I literally don't have the ability to bend and stuff. And then you got that with Zuko and Azula being with Azula being the prodigy, Zuko still being able to bend, but not as well as she can, obviously. So then you got Zuko facing that resentment from his father and that judgment from Azula being like, oh, boy can't do anything, brah. Azula's my prodigy, blah, blah, blah. And stuff like that. And it's, like, depressing for Zuko because all he wants all kids want is their parents' love, you know? And it's just sad when certain parents can't provide that. Because it's, like, the bare minimum, too. All you gotta do is love your kids, and that's that. It's not that hard. But that could go the same with Ursa and Azula, you know, with, you know, Azula being seen as, like, quote-unquote monster by her mom and stuff, you know. So you got foils in that, too, but then you got, like, various father figures, like Katara and Sokka's dad. But then, you know, in Zuko's case, he got fucking burned by his dad and scarred mentally and physically by his dad's actions at the Agni Kai. And then, but you got Iroh in his place. Iroh's more like a dad to Zuko than his own father is. Because unlike Ozai, Iroh actually has a sense of compassion and empathy for, like, humans and, like, other people. And that in part has to do with, like, Iroh losing Lu Ten in Ba Sing Se, which results in Iroh calling off the siege at Ba Sing Se, even if it was after, like, almost 2 years, you know? And Iroh, like, changing his ways and retiring from being a general and, like, you know. I also like that, like, speaking of Iroh, like, I like that they introduced that part about Iroh where he wasn't always a good guy. Like, when you watch the show in, like, season 1, you see Iroh there with Zuko on the ship playing the Sungi horn or whatever. Actually, no, they don't get the Sungi horn until, like, later with the pirates. But, case in point, like, you see Iroh there as, like, Zuko's mentor or whatever, and you think of him as, like, oh, he's just this guy. But, like, Iroh has depth to him. He's not just this old guy. Iroh is a character that has depth. There's nuance into his character. He's not just this, oh, look at me, I'm a perfect character with, I have not sinned whatsoever. Nope, no way. No, he was a Fire Nation general. He did his part in harming individuals within the war. And he understood that too. He acknowledges his defeat at Ba Sing Se and his inability to do what the Fire Nation aimed to do. But then he was also like, if this means I have to lose the people that I love, like my son, then it's not worth it for him. Then it also says something about the fact that, like, oh, all it took was for Iroh to, like, have the war affect him in a negative way in order to stop his actions by holding a siege at Ba Sing Se. So there's also that part where it's like, Iroh wasn't always the good guy. Like, he could have been blinded by the propaganda because he was the heir to the throne initially. Because Iroh is the older sibling out of Ozai and Iroh. I guess that's just why I like Iroh's character so much. He provides comedic relief, but he's also, like, a well-developed character with a complicated background, like Zuko says. And it's like all the characters, not all the characters are, like, good, like, fully, no, they're good people, I guess. But it's like, you can either find a reason to feel bad for them if they're on the quote-unquote bad side, or you can find, like, a flaw in them if, you know, if they're part of the gang or whatever. Because, like, yeah, you got Sokka's flaw with being sexist, but it ultimately leads to his development and understanding as, like, a leader and a warrior, and his relationships with the other girls around him, like Suki, who becomes his girlfriend after he was the one who insulted the Kyoshi warriors when they first met. And then you got Katara, who he was meant to protect, and, you know, but then she ends up finding the fucking Avatar in a fucking iceberg. And then, you know, and then Toph, like, she can't be blind, you know, she's like a little kid, and then it's like, you know, when they see her at the, like, Earth 6 or Earth Rumble 6, whatever the hell the thingy was called. Like, he's like, yeah, she's going down, yeah, the boulder. But then those two develop a bond so tight where it's like, you know, Toph acknowledges Sokka's role as a leader, and then Sokka acknowledges Toph's strength in her bending and using her disability as an advantage for her life and stuff. And it's like, damn, that's cool. And even with, like, Aang and Zuko too, they bond, like, Zuko and Sokka bond over their, like, you know, their ways of making plans and stuff, and, like, their girlfriends, I guess. I don't know. Like, I just think of their, like, conversation on the fucking war balloon, and then Sokka's like, my first girlfriend was the moon. She turned into the moon, and then Zuko's like, that's rough, buddy. Like, it gets memed a lot, but that's just, like, a particular moment that I think about a lot. And then Sokka with Aang. Sokka really didn't trust Aang at first, but then Aang proved to be, like, a good kid, and, like, someone who's actually, like, trying to help the world because he is the fucking Avatar. And although Sokka thinks of Aang as just a child, technically they all are. But, like, Aang especially, because he is the youngest of the group, I believe, along with Toph, because they're both 12. I'm pretty, if I remember correctly. But eventually they come to, like, recognize each other as, like, near brothers, basically. And then another thing, like, aside from the characters and stuff, the like, art and the landscape and how bending was shown, oh my god. Especially in, like, the Avatar state scenes, oh my god. It goes crazy. Like, one scene in particular that has always stuck with me for some reason was in episode 2, I'm pretty sure, was when Aang goes into the Avatar state after Katara, like, calls out his name and stuff, and, like, when he's, like, drowning in the water. And then Aang comes out and, like, in this, like, whirlpool, not a whirlpool, it's like the opposite, it's like a geyser. It's like a spinning geyser, whatever it's called. I'll like put a picture on the screen. But, like, when Aang does that and he, like, does the bending on the ship when he like lands down and, like, smacks all the Fire Nation soldiers off, it's like, I don't know, something about that scene is just crazy. Well, obviously it's crazy. He's shot himself out of the water and like used water and slapped and did a glorified water whip on Zuko and the other Fire Nation soldiers. That, but then also another clip that stuck with me. These are like really mundane episodes, like episode 2, and then like the fortune teller that's like also in season 1. It's like that part where he uses his not earthbending. He hasn't learned earthbending at that point. His airbending, and to cool down the lava, and like whip the lava around and like you know, make that little barrier thing. I'll put another picture of. This is very heavily dependent on like visuals, but like, yeah, he like basically like he just makes magma by like whipping the lava around, and then holding it up to a point where like he can blow on it, and then he just like makes this barrier around the village. I don't know, I just think that's very cool. Well, obviously it's cool. He fucking tackled a whole volcano. But then especially like after you watch the later episodes where you hear Roku and Sozin's backstory and how Roku died to a volcano and trying to save people from the volcano, it's like you feel that like, you know, Aang was able to do that what Roku couldn't, although on a smaller scale. But you know, you feel that like connection and tie, and I don't know what I'm saying. But I love all the bending scenes. Oh my god, Toph's earth bending and like Katara's water bending and blood bending. Blood bending is the scariest shit I have seen in my life, and oh my god, it is terrifying. Like I remember when I watched that, because I first watched Avatar like during quarantine. I think it was like in 2021. Like actually no, like 2019, 2020, somewhere around then, I think. I first saw Katara bloodbending. I was like, holy shit, that's scary as fuck. Like, my god. What the heck? Like, imagine having that much power. Like, that's crazy. And then, like, her doing it out of rage in the Southern Raiders. It's like, oh my god. And then I think, like, one of my favorite things is, like, seismic sense. How Toph uses that. I've talked about it, like, a few times during this whole session, but the way they visualize that and the way, like, I don't know, the way it's visualized is just very, like, cool and interesting to me. Because you can see, like, how Toph is able to visualize with the waves she hears, or well, yeah, I guess hears and like sees through her feet. Like you can visually see that, and it's like you can understand how Toph is able to do the shit that she does. Like it's crazy. And then like you see Aang doing it too, especially in the last like one of the last scenes where like Iroh's about to shoot like a fireball into Aang's head or something. Like on like before Aang takes away his bending. It's like, bro, that's crazy. How did I get from talking to bending? I was meant to talk about the landscapes. The landscapes, crazy. Like I remember seeing a real life photo, or hang on, a photo of like a place in real life that looked like the last, like that last battle between Aang and Ozai. And I saw that, I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. But then you also have like I was looking at like the Wikipedia page because I was like, damn, that's cool. I wonder how they came up with the ideas of like, and like the designs of like the scenery and like the buildings and like the various temples and stuff. And they're like, oh my god, we used like so much inspiration from like East Asian culture and like That's another thing I like about it. I liked how they adequately represented that culture in like a good way too, rather than just like putting microaggressions out like a lot of mainstream TV does nowadays. They were able to do it in a way where like it's like more like an appreciation rather than an appropriation. And even then with like that, along with like like the martial arts that bending was inspired by, or that inspired the bending style, and like the score with the like the various instruments that they use rather than just like the violin or the flute. It's like they use like actual like I don't know if authentic's the right word. But yeah, you know, yeah. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say. I don't really know what I'm talking about. Like I remember I was reading the Wikipedia page and it was like, "Oh yeah, one of the building inspirations for was it Bossing? I think it was Bossing Say. It was like the Forbidden City." I'm like, "Holy shit, that's cool." Like, bro. Like as I was watching, I was like, that's something I would like to do. It's like a way of honoring the culture. Like, so I have next to me, I have like the art book that I got, because I have the Avatar art book 2nd edition. One of my favorite things ever. It is a gorgeous book. So like I've been looking through that, seeing like, oh, how they like where they got their inspiration from. It's like I want to do that, but with like my culture, because I'm not East Asian, I'm Southeast Asian. I'm Vietnamese, so I'm like, oh yeah, I want to take inspiration from my culture and do that sort of thing, you know? I made 3 shovels. Hopefully I didn't overestimate. Knowing me, I probably underestimated, but whatever. So it's like I want to make bases and like scenery inspired by that thing, but also like creating my own as like, you know, a homage to my culture, because you know it's something that I've always wanted to do, but I never knew how to tackle it, and either that or I always like gave up or whatever. So but now like watching this sort of media that really appreciates the like true sources and like cultures that are that's like, you know, it's like really like it shows the passion and care that goes into various pieces of artwork that might have been lost in like the past however many or so years, especially with like, you know, like the industry like favoring like the Disney formula or whatever to promote like their stuff more efficiently and make it and ensure that it keeps its popularity even like however many years later, and like just continuously pumping out like sequels and like just like same old stories. But then you have media like Avatar and like other films like Everything Everywhere All at Once and blah, 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 blah. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head right now. But you have the films like that where it's like you can clearly see like the passion and the love that the creators and like all the crew has for that film or show or like song or whatever. Any piece of art, really. Any piece of media, art, whatever. Any like sort of content. Like I feel like that's a thing that's been lacking recently. Especially in like also in like the YouTube space and like content creation space in general. Maybe that's just me being in like the Minecraft niche. Okay, editing Mint here. I really go off the rails at this point in the video, and then I start talking about content creation and my relationship with that, but it doesn't fit into this video, so that'll be saved for another video. So Yeah, okay, bye.